Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel today. Today, we're talking about time versus maturity. I was thinking about this concept. I have a son, and he's 8. He'll be 9 in the fall. And it's really got me thinking about how I want him to be maturing. So long, I was in the parenthood stages of getting through the time. Can we make it through the things we need to get through? And now he's settled into a really good rhythm. He's going to school well. He has his sports. Like we have this really good rhythm going. And it's at this time that I've been able to start really thinking about and layering on this idea of maturity. And the idea is often we let time progress and we think that that is creating maturity. And ideally that it's happening. But if we're not checking in on the development and making sure that we're not only passing the time, but also gaining the skills we need to mature into the phase we're in, what happens is we have a 8-year-old in a 13-year-old body, an 8-year-old in a 16-year-old body, an 8-year-old in a 35-year-old's body trying to be married, right? And so you see where I'm going here, that in our marriages, in our relationships, we're counting our relationships in years. We're counting our relationship in terms of age. And there's almost this assumption that our relationships will mature, but there's not a focus on what it looks like for our relationships to mature, for us to mature in our relationships. And I want you to turn your attention in your relationship to, are we two people who have stayed the same moving through time? Are we two people who are maturing together in our relationship over time? And so when I look at my son, if my goal is time passing, we're just getting through the days, one foot in front of the other, whatever has been happening continues to happen, and we move through. There's some standard things that we'll have that have already been put in place, and those just continue. We're adding things on, and the goal of what we add on is, how do we get through this day? How do we make it to the next day? That's the mindset of making it through life based on time. Now, if I want to cultivate a mature child and mature children, I have to start flipping my mindset. What do I need them to do so that when they hit the next milestone, when we hit 5 more years, they're where I think they should be? I heard a parenting person say that we're done parenting our kids at 13. At 13, we're done being able to have the voice in their head that's parenting them. And at that point, we're really just there to listen. We can, of course, offer our feedback, but the actual ability to shape them has gone. I thought that was really powerful. Whether or not that's true, it's an interesting thought. So I have 13 years to get my son to where, and then my daughters to where they need to be, so that when I speak, we have family patterns established. What I'm establishing now will last the next 50 years in my relationship with my son. The problem is, if I'm trying to parent after that stage, that actually starts to damage the relationship, right? Because now I'm someone to be avoided. I'm someone to be, avoid at all costs. She's going to try to parent again, and I'm no longer receptive to her parenting. So I have to establish our relationship early on so that as we move through time, we have these established things. I need to get him to maturity. And again, mature for a 13-year-old, he'll continue to mature beyond that point. But it makes me think, how do I want him to participate in our household? What does a mature child do in a household? I know what a 5-year-old does in a household, but what would a mature child do in a household? So I have to be thinking, how do we set this up so that he's maturing within our family system, and so that everyone's maturing within the family system? I also have to mature as a parent. Know how to parent as a 5-year-old, and if I try to take the same me that was parenting a 5-year-old and try to parent an 8, 9, and 10-year-old, I'm not going to be the best parent. I have to mature in who I have been as a parent so that I can be the better parent and meet at that next level. How does this apply to our marriages? We need to be maturing in our marriages. So we want to use those same principles that I would use to mature a child to mature ourselves in our relationship. So, number one, it's getting out of the mindset that simply by existing, I am participating in being mature. Sorry, you don't get points for existing. Time does not, we all know that adult who is not mature. Time is not going to do what we need done. So we have to stop thinking that time will solve our problems. And we have to start being very intentional. Okay, here's our relationship today. Where do we want our relationship to be in 5 years? And what has to grow and develop to hold that next level? What within me has to shift? We really want your partner to be also asking the question, what within them needs to shift, and what within the relationship needs to shift to hold what's next. So we always want to have our eye on where are we going? And just like at a certain time, your kid can no longer be parented by you in the traditional sense, there is a point in our relationship where we are not looking to each other for support and guidance. And we're looking outward. We're not taking feedback anymore, which is why it's essential that we start this process as soon as possible. So that as we progress our relationship, when we hear each other's voice, we're still responding with love, compassion, patience, and exploration, curiosity, versus I see in a lot of couples when they hear their partner's feedback, their critique, their complaints, they're hard to it. They're defensive toward it. They don't want to hear it. And so we want to also train within our relationship a space of we're here to hold the space for the other person. We're here to be with that other person. And we want to create that. And all of this is part of being mature in a relationship, being able to hold the space when someone doesn't like what you've done, being able to see where you yourself are accountable to what's happened, to be able to know that I'm okay even when they're upset. So I don't have to crumble when they're upset, but I also don't have to be defensive against their upset. All of these are signs of a mature partner and a relationship that can absorb differences of opinions, a relationship that can absorb hurt feelings, a relationship that can support each other when we're not our best selves. That's a mature relationship. But again, it's the accountability piece that we're really needing to look at. Accountability and maturity go hand in hand. An immature person, I didn't do that. I'm not responsible. That's on you. A mature person, yeah, I can see where I played a part in that, or I can see where this might have contributed to that. So when you're looking at relationships, we need to stop looking at them in terms of the age. We need to start looking at them in terms of the developmental milestone, the mature points in our relationship. And a good way to test this is, am I making progress? Are we having the same fight the same way over and over and over and over and over? Or every time we're fighting, are we getting a little bit better? I think there's always gonna be disagreements in relationships. That's part of living with someone. If you're being authentic to you and they're being authentic to them, there's gonna be a lot of disagreements. That's healthy and normal. Where we start straying is when a disagreement turns into a disagreement, where something little turns into something big, and we're constantly getting big. Can we get better about how we're approaching each other, how we're having discussions, so that we can discuss things in a calm way? We're hearing each side and coming to a decision that works for both people. So these are the markers. Let's look at where we were and where we are. We don't need to compare ourselves to some other couple because that might not be who we are. That might not be the best state for us. Every couple has their different patterns and their different way of being and their different place of perfection. But are we getting better? Are we handling things in a different way that feels better to each party? Are we moving in a direction where we can be with each other in a different way, where we're able to enjoy and be with each other, receive each other differently? Can we take those breaths before we responding? Can we give extra grace? Can we come to things clearly? Can I set myself aside so I can meet you where you're at in that moment? Can we go beyond ourselves to support the relationship? And until we can go beyond ourselves, and this is in parenting, and this is in our partnership, and this is in work, until we can go beyond ourselves to meet someone else, we're not mature. That is a great assessment tool of, am I able to go beyond myself or am I reacting from within myself? And we'll talk about another video. We'll talk about the third space and creating a space to hold issues in a relationship so that they're not coming to you. But the biggest thing I have to do in parenting is set my own feelings and emotions aside so that I can meet my child where they're at. Because where I'm at, none of this really matters. Like, you're upset about having to come inside. I'm frustrated because you need to get in the bath, and I can already see when I get to bed. Da, da, da. The problem with me being in my perspective is I'm not able to be attuned to my child and their perspective because I'm thinking this is so not a big deal. So I have to set my own feelings about something aside so that I can meet them where they're at. And I know how it feels because I'm listening to how it feels for them, not because I know how it feels for me on my side, but because I've set my side aside and I am noticing what it feels like for them. Can we do that in our relationships? Can I set myself aside so that I can see and hear how it feels for you? Once I feel how it feels for you, it's not that we have to be so selfless that we never bring ourselves in, but when I can listen and hear you, aside from me, the solutions I come up with, the way I bring myself is so much different. The example of my kids outside playing, they're having a hard time going in. If I'm from the stance of this is not a big deal, I'm not going to comfort you. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to be mad at you. Why are you making this a big deal? Why are you making this harder than it is? Why are you always throwing a fit? Just listen to me. If I come at it from the other perspective, I can empathize. I know this is really hard. You were having so much fun. I see it. I saw how much fun you were having. And I know it's so hard to stop when you're in the middle of something fun. Now, in this example, I'm still walking them inside. I'm not lying over. It's fun. You can't handle it. No, no, we're still moving forward, but we're moving forward. And what they're feeling from me is empathy and understanding while we're still moving forward. So the end result's the same. They're inside in the bathtub, but the way that we are relating and the way I'm making them feel is so different. And I want you to really pay attention in your relationships. How are you making your partner feel? Is how you're showing up and being, is it that I see your perspective and I get it, and the outcome might not change? An example of my husband, he's a coach, his schedule's set by other people. It's very frustrating. And at times he'd take a stance of, this is the job. He'd literally say to me, this is the job. This was what you signed up for marrying a coach. This is what I signed up for being a coach. What are you going to do? Do you know how infuriating that is? To be sad that you're missing someone, sad that someone's not participating, and all you get from them is, it is what it is. Because from his perspective, he loves doing it. So A, it's not as much of a sacrifice for him. And B, this is what he signed up for. And his mindset is very much, if I make a commitment, I'm keeping that commitment. That's what I love about him. It's also what drives me crazy about him. Always the same thing. Finally, something shifted. And when he just said, I know I don't want to be gone this weekend either. I'll miss you and the kids. And he's still gone. He's not, I'm going to quit my job for you. I don't even want him to quit his job. I like that paycheck. Please keep working. Like it wasn't about quitting the job. It was about just meet me where I'm at. I'm sad you're not home. I'm sad you're leaving. It's hard for me to be without you this weekend. Just meet me there. I know it's hard. I know you and the kids would rather have me around. I would rather be around. So that, again, he's still walking me inside. He's still going to work. But the way that I'm experiencing him in that moment is not as my adversary who is doing his own thing, but as my partner who sees my perspective, gets it, and is still going to do the thing that ultimately we both want him to do. So it's in this joining. And again, that's a sign of maturity in the relationship. And you see that the outcome doesn't have to change, but the way that we come to the resolution changes the entire state of the relationship and the entire way our partner feels about it. So as you're moving through, your relationship, as you're thinking about what's working, not working, doing your evaluations, check in and ask yourself, am I as mature as I need to be for the relationship that I'm dreaming of? And where can we as a couple mature as we step forward and continue to go through this relationship? I don't want another year to pass by in your marriage where you stay in the same place you were the year before. I want when you look at year 10 to year 11, I want you to say, oh, look it, we were able to shift as a team. We were able to do something different and we were able to create something better than what we could have created from where we were. When we talk about maturity, this message is especially important for moms because all moms that I hear from want the mature dad, the dad of the 5, 6, 7 year olds who can handle them, who know what to bring, what to do, how to support the family. But you know where that dad comes from? He comes from the dad of the 1 month old who was left alone with the baby so that he could figure out the feeding schedule, the diaper changes, and the bottles. What I see so much in my practice and what I always encourage women is leave your husband alone with your child from the beginning. Don't baby them. Let them, I mean, of course, hey, we always had the feeding schedule on the fridge. So it's not like a mystery. If I was breastfeeding, the milk was ready. Like, I'm not saying put anyone at peril not having what they need, but let your husband mature as you're maturing. Because it's unfair to all, just like with our kids, it's unfair to have raised my son as an 8-year-old and an 18 be like, good luck. And why don't you know how to do that? I haven't been getting you ready, but now you need to go. And I'm going to be real critical and real judgy if you can't go. So when you have young kids, really make an effort that you're both maturing at the same time and that you're giving your partner the chance to mature. I'm way different as a mom than I was as a cousin at a family reunion around kids, right? Like if we're always around and we're always leaving husbands in the shadow of the work and we're always taking the lead and then we expect them to magically jump in ahead of us or we resent them from never stepping in, we have to look at, but have we stepped back so that they can step up? Have we allowed ourselves to pull back so that they can also mature? And that was the best thing that happened with my son is our work schedules. We both split childcare and we were at different times. So he would watch our son in the morning and I would watch our son afternoons, evenings. And it made such a big difference in terms of how even now things are divided up because we've both been accountable to knowing the system. But I would not expect that to have happened if I had always been around holding the schedule. And so we have to step back so that others can step up. And in your marriage, if there's a spot that you feel like this is stuck, maybe your partner's a dud. That happens. But more often than not, we might have been preventing our partners maturing. Something we're doing, maybe enabling them to not grow in the relationship. And so that's where we can really step back and say, where have I been enabling the behavior I don't like? Because every critique of my spouse is also a critique of me in some way, and not that his success is my success, but in the ways that I see that I am missing what I want, I also see the ways in which I have prevented him from filling that void and I have filled that void. And then now I'm really good at it and he's not good at it. Well, I didn't give him space to be good at it. He was a little bad and I made him really bad. That's what I talk about with our relationship maturing. Where am I over functioning so that the relationship is under functioning and my partner's under functioning in its ability to support me and in their ability to support me? And just know wherever you are in your marriage, it's not too late. If you have missed that window with the babies and you have older kids, step back. Hey, Friday nights are dad nights. Good luck. I don't know what to eat. I don't care. Like, we have to stop caring so much about outcome. I don't care what you eat. I mean, within limits, I said, I'm like, actually, no, don't go crazy, but it doesn't have to be perfect. But it's kind of like it's not too late to step back and let your partner step up. Whatever stage of your relationship you're in, it can still shift. But the thing that's required to shift is whatever is getting in the way of it shifting. And so, wherever you are, like again with kids, okay, you didn't do this, turn one night a week over and they're fully responsible that night. And if you're like me, you cannot be home because the kids are like, we call it mommy magnet and everyone is drawn to me. So it's also unfair. If I'm around, it's unfair because as much as my husband might be willing to do, I won't let him. So there are nights, there's often on Sundays, I work on Sundays. So he is in charge on Sundays. And on Friday nights, I work late and he's in charge Friday night. And we could talk about what is the expectation. And the expectation is, okay, the kids need to have been through their bedtime routine and the house needs to be picked up because I don't want to walk into a mess because that stresses me out. And so setting those expectations, what are we expecting from each other? Because I can't expect, if I expect to walk into a clean home and my husband's always walking in a messy home, that's not a fair expectation. Is it a family value that we walk into clean spaces or not? But if I'm always cleaning the home before my husband gets home and when I come home, it's always a mess, that's not fair. So we got to look at what's our expectation. What are we holding? But wherever you're at, don't hesitate to step back and let them step up and communicate this. Because if you just step back without talking about it, it might not go how you want, but have a plan for how you're going to step back and what you're wanting from them and what they're willing to give in them. Thanks for watching today. Follow my channel, like and subscribe to stay up on all the new content. And if you're looking for more marital support, check out my website, www.leannepeterson.com. Link below.